All right, I believe we are live. Hello and welcome everyone to another edition of Geopolitics with Tom Vays on this Tuesday, May 21st. Is it 21st? Let's find out. Should be 21st. 21st. All right, we got a lot to cover, and I'm gonna do a quick overview of the price of Bitcoin, very quick. And if you remember last stream, guys, on the last stream, we talked about Russia-Ukraine. So I think on this stream, I can do a little bit of a deep dive into Israel-Gaza instead of Russia-Ukraine. back in Panama, so I'm not, like I said, if my family is not on my side with Russia-Ukraine coverage. So whenever I'm visiting family, I can't talk about this shit. But thank God none of them know I even have a YouTube channel, so it's so it's fairly safe. Um, I'm already getting hit with the hard questions. Did Israel kill Iranian president? I I don't I don't believe that they did, and I really hope that they did not, because if they did, and Iran finds out that they did, there will be no state of Israel. It would not exist. It would be wiped off the map. Iran has way better weapons than Israel does. I believe so. Iran is backed by China and Russia. Iran does not have a nuclear bomb, but they can get one within 6 months. And it will be the latest and greatest of its type. Now, yeah, we'll get into we can talk about all that. I am still leaning to the fact that this was an accident, but I don't rule anything out. Weird accident though, right? That's now two presidents that don't go along with the global agenda. One is confirmed to be deceased. The other is fighting for his life over in Slovakia. How many cups of tea do I drink a day, and what tea do I drink? I am fairly flexible on tea. I just get bored drinking water. I don't drink much tea a day. I just drink 1 cup. I drink about 1 cup in the morning, and I basically just when I stream. I don't normally sit around drinking tea. Only when I stream. It's either alcohol or tea. And this is an alcohol time during the stream. All right. Am I live streaming yet? Am I sharing charts yet or not? I don't think I am. I'm not. All right, let's go to screen share. All right, we got close to 200 live viewers already, which is great. All right, I hope you guys are watching our morning shows. Our morning shows is where we discuss the price of Bitcoin. So I'm not going to talk about it much here. There's no need. Just join the morning show for that. The weekly chart is now fully bullish with a green star candle. The allocation chart is 100% long. The daily chart is the one that is in trouble. The daily chart is on an MRI warning candle. And I even said that today could be a good day to take your stop loss. I would be taking my stop loss if I was a day trader, because tomorrow is an MRI top. And we've gone a lot lower than where my stop loss would have been. My stop loss would have been somewhere around 70,200, 70,300. It would have been up here somewhere. I might have even pulled the trigger at 70,500. I was hoping we can rally one more day and then reverse, but it looks like we're already reversing. I'm not surprised. We made it to this upper bound of the horizontal support resistance line. I expected us to get rejected from that area. I didn't think we'd get there in one day. I thought it would take, the rest of the month to get there, but we got there in one day. So the rejection, still the same, basically. I mean, we just went up this way. And now all I have to do is adjust it like that. and then this one would just rise. So, and then this one would rise as well. So something like that. I am looking at a bullish market. Maybe we'll flirt with the breakout a bit. Maybe it means we're going to break out earlier. Something like that. I'll probably delete this later on. I don't want it to look like I predicted this perfectly because I did not. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this, but you have a general idea of what I'm thinking. So my favorite tea brand is Harney and Sons. I really, really like it. They have really good flavors. It's a high quality tea. But if anyone's asking what I'm drinking right now, I'm just drinking Stash. It's not great, but again, I'm in Panama. I'm not really selective on my tea. I just want it without sugar, without any additives. Just something clean. I look at the ingredients list, and the only thing I want to see is tea. Tea and some spices. I don't mind cinnamon or whatever. Okay, hey, real quick. The financial summit coming to the Maldives in March of 2025. A few other announcements of where you can find me. By the way, the Financial Summit YouTube channel is where you can find me every day. Let's go in order here. So I will be in Texas. I will not be attending Consensus Conference because I think it's a total shitcoin conference and I just don't care. But I will be at Unchained Capital for Cathie Wood's presentation. So you can, this is on Twitter. You can find this. I think Parker Lewis tweeted it out. You can find it. You have to apply. You have to be approved, but go for it. I will be here Thursday night. I will land around 2 p.m. in Austin, Texas. If anyone's watching, anybody wants to take a ride to the airport, you're welcome to come and grab me. And someone is asking me, Glenlivet or Macallan? Neither. My favorite scotch is Lagavulin. I try to drink Lagavulin or very similar things to Lagavulin. But Lagavulin is my favorite standard scotch that you can find at any normal liquor store. Any big liquor store, you'll find Lagavulin. That's what you'll catch me drinking. I really don't like scotch, but I like Lagavulin. And Irish whiskey is even harsher. I struggle to drink Irish whiskey. However, at my not mine, but at the financial summit in Dubai, someone brought a bottle of Middleton Very Rare. It's like a $500 Irish whiskey. That thing was absolutely incredible. So my bar for Irish whiskey is probably over $300 for me to really like it. My bar for Scotch is $85 Lagavulin 16, or some of their special barrels like the Offerman or that's the 11-year. I'm not a big fan of the 8-year. I need my Scotch to be more aged. But Lagavulin 16-year or anything on par with that. Special barrels that are 11-year aged and up is good. Can my moderators grab some questions and throw them in the commentary? Like the Moldova question I see, like just throw it in there. I'll get to it. All right. I filter my water. I use the Zero Water filter. There's a filter brand called Zero Water. It's I think it's the best filter on the market. That's under $50. Like Brita does absolutely nothing. If you're using a Brita water filter, that's useless. But check out the zero water filter. Zero water filter. I mean, I like the zero. It's the only one with the balls to sell you the filter with the water tester. None of the other water filters will sell it to you. Like when you order it, it comes with every single one of these. It looks like this. It's nothing special. Zero water Europe, yeah. It looks like this, zero water. It's just like that, you pour water in. I can't stand these pop-ups. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's just like this. It's got this big filter right there. But it's the only one. Like, no matter which one you buy, even if you buy the cheapest, smallest one, it will still arrive with a water tester meter. Right there. So that's what I use. It's good. I use it here in Panama. I use it in, use it in Florida, use it in the US. Okay, so come check this out. Apply. I mean, I think they still have spots. Next. Hey guys, I really wanted to make it to Bitcoin Prague. This is an incredible event. I've been to Prague. I've spoken at events in Prague. Prague is absolutely awesome. The speaker lineup for BTC Prague is freaking ridiculous. And they're all going to be there in person. Michael Saylor, Adam Back, Jack, Jimmy Song, Francis, Tour, Parker Lewis, who I'm going to see in Texas this week, Giacomo Zucco, Dusan, who's a new friend of mine from down in Honduras. I'll be talking a lot more about that. Rockstar. I mean, this is just a sick lineup. One of the best conferences. Bitcoin Mechanic. Look at that. Like, oh, Michelle Weekly's going. I think everyone's going but me. I will not make it. I will be staying in the Northeast. I'm pretty much done with public speaking, mostly. It's we can do a whole podcast as to why I'm not really doing public speaking anymore. A lot of it has to do with what I'm going to talk about next, which is Israel-Gaza. And I'm not going to get into the details, but the reason I'm not public speaking anymore is because like conferences don't pay my expenses to go there and speak. And I used to pay at my own expense. I mean, they used to cover sometimes my flight, sometimes my hotel room. So I used to travel and have my expenses covered. That's no longer the case. Not a single conference has covered a single dime of my expenses since the pandemic. So I have to travel to these events at my own expense, which also back in the day wasn't a big deal because back in the day I was making money. I was selling courses. I was teaching workshops. I was gaining a following which would lead to income. The situation now, since the pandemic, basically, and since my shadow bans, and since me going political, and so conferences don't pay my expenses, and I don't get any additional followers or subscribers from going to any of these events. So I would have to pay my own way to go to these events, take a million selfies with fans, which I don't mind, but basically spend a bunch of money without, having it materialize into anything financial. So it just makes zero economic sense for me to go to any of these events, right? So it just doesn't make sense. If all my expenses were covered and I had a free trip to Prague, I would go. But that's not the case, and that's not the case with any of the events. So, and because me being there will not add a single dollar in revenue and profit in my businesses, which I'm not even sure I even have a business anymore because I don't. Just my events, and that's it. And my events don't really make money. And it makes absolutely zero sense for me to. I've only spoken at one event this year, which was BitBlock Boom. because it was cheap for me to go there. It was in the US. I was in the US. So I think my conference days are done pretty much. It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make economic sense. It doesn't make sense. If I happened to be in Europe at this time, I would have gone. But unfortunately for me, that's not the case. But this is an incredible event. Um, if you want to meet these people, if you want to see these people speak, you should absolutely come and go there. But I will be doing meetups. You can find me in Las Vegas. We will be having a meetup in Las Vegas. I'm going to Las Vegas to organize the financial summit. Yeah, Gary Leland's a good friend, so I was out there supporting his event in Texas. I will be in town in Las Vegas. I have a charity poker tournament to play in on June 2nd. And then on June 3rd, I have a bunch of meetings with the new unconfiscatable venues. Speaking of unconfiscatable, here it is. Come join me at Unconfiscatable in September. The event is being scaled down. The carnivory dinner will only have 50 spots. The event will only have about 100 to 150 spots. I am not seeking speakers this year. We will select speakers from the attendees themselves. I mean, maybe a few speakers will reach out to me, and some high-profile speakers, but we will announce speakers the week before the event. I will reach out to all the past speakers to see who will be in town. But this is more like a Bitcoin hangout. I would like to hang out with 100 people that watch this channel, that hang out at Unconfiscatable. I dropped the price to as much as I could. It's $300. Basically, it's a little bit of a barrier to entry so that people don't sign up and not show up. Otherwise, it would be cheaper. But $300 will just make people at least take it seriously. And I don't want to deal with registrations and then have people not show up. Dinners are expensive. A steak dinner at a steakhouse is not cheap, and private venues are more expensive. And that's about it. So come and hang out. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll have the Scammy Awards. We're gonna play poker. We're gonna do carnivory dinner, and we're just gonna have a lot of fun. All right, and yeah, but Prague is an awesome event. I mean, I'll try to be there next year. I'll try to schedule. Like I always wanted to go see Croatia and Hungary and Serbia and maybe Slovakia. I've never been to those countries. I was gonna try to do it this summer and time it with Prague, but I just couldn't do it. So hopefully Europe doesn't blow itself up by next summer, and I'll be there next summer. But this is a really cool event. I strongly recommend people go. It's cheap as well. It's like 300 euro, 350 euro. It's not expensive, definitely affordable. And this is the Vegas. I tweeted this out. Lumberjack, shout out. Lumberhawk, sorry, not Lumberjack. Lumberhawk, thanks so much for organizing it, organizing the meetup. We're going to play some poker. I'll also be playing poker in Texas as well. The poker game in Texas will be live streamed. Guys, I can do announcements all day, and but I think it's time to talk about a serious topic, which is Gaza. Well, Israel versus Gaza. Lieberland. Well, maybe one day when I know I'm not going to get arrested trying to get on the property. Oh man, 1 second. On live stream. Well, listen after. Uh, okay, so that's not what I wanted to pull up. Interesting. Wait, hold on. Why does this say Judge Napolitano? I don't know why this says Judge Napolitano. I didn't know this was his channel. I guess maybe it was on his channel? Oh, wow. Okay. So this was on Judge Napolitano's channel. Okay. Strange. All right. So the other day I listened to this presentation by John Mearsheimer. It was absolutely excellent. And he was doing it in a hostile environment where it felt like the majority of the audience were on board with what's happening in Gaza. Well, as you guys know, I see it as a full-blown genocide going on in Gaza. And it looked like the audience here were mostly pro-genocide in Gaza, which is unfortunate. But John Mearsheimer did a great job. Yeah, my moderators, please throw the live chat questions in our group chat. Thank you. And I'm just going to play the first like 30 seconds, just the first few clips on what his presentation was like. So let me turn on the audio here. That's up. That's up. And I'm going to grab, I'm going to turn on a second microphone. All right, here we go.
Why are they starving the Palestinians? Why are they killing the Palestinians? Why are they making Gaza unlivable? It's very simple. They want to drive them out.
Oh, I really thought he had a little more commentary than that. Hold on.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Intercontinental. My name is Tom Switzer. I'm the Executive Director at the Centre for Independent Studies. Now, for those of you who don't know much about CIS, we're public policy research professors of political science in the world. It's not just unnecessary, but a strategic
conflict in Gaza, mainly between Israel and the.
All right, so I want to
put trouble today and for as far as the eye can see.
I'm just gonna play this for a minute.
Great to see Tom again, and thank you all for
So
coming.
you know what his presentation was about.
As everybody knows, since October 7th, the Middle East has been turned upside down. I think before October 7th, almost everybody thought that the Middle East was a quite stable area. There were no big problems. Then October 7th happened, and it looks like nothing but trouble today and for as far as the eye can see. And what I'd like to do is analyze what has happened since October 7th. I'd like to talk about the causes of the trouble, where we are today, and where we're going. And in pursuit of that, I want to break my talk down this way. First, I want to focus on analyzing the conflict in Gaza, mainly between Israel and the Palestinians, or Israel and Hamas. And also to say a few words about Hezbollah, because the Hezbollah-Israel conflict is connected to Gaza. So that's the first conflict I want to look at. Then the second conflict I want to look at is the Iran-Israel-US conflict that took place April 1st, April 14th, and April 19th. And I want to figure out what exactly happened there and what the consequences are. And of course, I'm going to do that with the Gaza war as well. So those are the two conflicts I'm going to look at. And then what I want to do in the second part of the talk is I want to talk about the consequences of all of this, the consequences of those two conflicts for Israel, for the United States, and for Iran. And my basic argument is that Israel is the big loser. Israel is in really serious trouble today, and there's little hope of getting away from that moving forward. Second, that the Americans are also losers, although they do not lose as big as Israel does. And the winners, not in any decisive way, but the winners are the Iranians. So that's the basic structure of my talk this evening. Now, let me start with what happened on October 7th and talk about the Gaza.
Okay, so I strongly recommend people watch this presentation and then the Q&A after that. I'm going to turn off the second mic. I thought it was very, very good. And I'm going to talk about similar stuff as well. Now, the one thing I will say is that during this presentation, the one thing I wish he wouldn't say is that he refers to Gaza being an open-air prison. I really don't like the term open-air prison, because the word prison implies that the Palestinians did something wrong. to have a wall built around them, creating a prison-like environment. So personally, I think a better term is an open-air concentration camp, because I don't like using the word prison in that context, because prison implies that they did something wrong to get in there, and they did not. Now, we can talk about Hamas doing something wrong on October 7th, and that something was pretty nasty, where they broke out of the open-air concentration camp and created havoc on, well, everything is Israel, right? Even Gaza. But in Israel proper, I guess, created havoc in Israel proper, not to the type of degree that the Israel media and the Israeli propaganda would have you believe. They were not babies being beheaded. They were not babies being thrown in ovens. None of that actually happened. It's been proven false, but the majority of the people still believe that that insanity happened. Personally, as you guys know, I am of the view that approximately half, if not more than half, Israelis and I guess, Palestinians that were killed on October 7th were killed by the Israeli military forces, that between completely being panicked, completely being taken by surprise, and having the Hannibal doctrine of we'd rather kill our own than have them be taken as prisoners. Between those three things, I'm not going to say the majority of non-Palestinians that were killed that day were killed by the Israeli forces, but a large amount of them were. We will never really find out the truth because Israel mostly controls the media and the propaganda domain. With TikTok being one of the few social media elements that cannot be controlled, which is why the US government is banning TikTok, all, of course, orchestrated by the Israeli lobby. Okay, so on that note, I want to bring something else up real quick. So, yeah, moderators, please send questions in our group chat. I don't see any. Someone is saying it wasn't a prison or concentration camp. They had a growing population. That has nothing to do with it, right? I mean, just because they didn't have the means to segregate males from females inside the concentration camp doesn't mean it wasn't a concentration camp, right? The Germans had the ability to segregate by sex. The Israelis did not have that ability. Trust me, if the Israelis had the ability to segregate the Palestinians inside Gaza by sex, like the Germans did, they would have done it a decade ago. Like that is, you are completely confusing two very different things. What's the difference between Netanyahu and Benny Gantz? Netanyahu would go to prison if he's not leading Israel. That's literally the only difference. Netanyahu has an American education and he's more Americanized. That's another difference. Netanyahu is a better manipulator of U.S. foreign policy than Benny Gantz. Like that, the differences are very, very small. Okay. Now, let's get back to something else. So on the last stream, I mostly talked about the Russia-Ukraine situation. And if I go to my last stream, there was a very interesting comment that I replied to. Wait, this is the current stream, not where I wanted to go. I want to go to the last stream. How do I define a concentration camp? Well, I define that as an enclosed space where your mobility is limited. You can't really travel anywhere. Your movements are controlled by another authority, and you're basically stuck there without an ability to prosper. It's basically an apartheid. Very similar. It's worse than an apartheid, though. So in the last stream, where I did a deep dive into Russia, Ukraine, and we can do a deep dive into Israel-Gaza. I don't give a shit anymore. I don't mind talking about this. I mean, if Israel had a hand in eliminating the Iranian president, we could be on the verge of World War III. I kind of care about my life and life of friends and family, so I have no problem calling out what Israelis are doing. And notice how I always say Israelis. I want zero affiliation with those people. Right, eventually this will load. Guys, my computer functions just fine, except when I run Zoom. And when I run Zoom, everything just goes to shit. But I need Zoom to stream, so it's one or the other. Let me see. Maybe I'll just find the comment. I want to sort them. It sucks that YouTube doesn't let you always sort by latest. So I do need to find that comment. Yeah. Oh, guys, feel free to leave and never come back if you don't like my geopolitical commentary. If you want the Bitcoin commentary, go follow the Financial Summit channel where I don't talk about this. If you don't want to hear my geopolitics, unsubscribe. I have zero problem with that. I honestly don't give a shit about my subscriber base at this point. Yeah, don't worry. If you don't watch me for a few months, YouTube will unsubscribe you themselves. It's they've been unsubscribing people from my channel as it is. Yeah, if you I don't talk about politics on the Financial Summit Network, so feel free to go there. You'll never have to hear it again. And all these spam comments that don't make this any easier. So. Ah, this sucks. Oh, here we go. Found it. Of course, it's going to be the last comment. There we go. Almost the last comment. So this was an interesting question. So the comment was, please correct me if I misunderstand tone. But it seems he doesn't blame Russia for invading Ukraine due to a possible NATO expansion. But he blames Israel for invading Gaza after Israel's were massacred. I mean, the phrasing of the question is very incorrect. Okay, the phrasing of the question is very incorrect. It's not that whether Russia is to be blamed or whether Israel is to be blamed. It has nothing to do with that. Okay, bad things happened that led up to Russian military entering the border of Ukraine. And bad things happened that led to the Ukrainian military entering Gaza and start shooting. Okay, say the concepts, different things happened, right? But I'm talking about what happened after. Okay, we can talk about what led to Israel entering Gaza and start shooting, and what led to Russia entering Ukraine and start shooting. I've discussed both of those things in detail, right? Completely different events led up to that moment. What I am focused on is more what happened after the military crossed the line and started shooting. In the case of Russia, the military crossed the Ukrainian border and started shooting. In the case of Israel, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, crossed the wall that they built to try to maintain the open-air concentration camp of Palestinians and started shooting. Now, here are the main differences, okay? The differences are that the Russian objectives are to demilitarize and to denazify. That is their objective. Russia was willing to have a peace deal immediately after entering the Ukrainian border. The peace deal was on the table, okay? The peace deal was sabotaged by the West, by the US, who sent their lapdog, Boris Johnson, to Ukraine to kill the peace deal. Now, since there is no peace deal, the Russian military continues shooting inside the Ukrainian border. But who are they shooting at? They are shooting at the Ukrainian military. They are giving the Ukrainian military every chance to surrender. They are doing their best to avoid killing Ukrainian casualties. Now, you can disagree with my statements. You could believe or be certain that Russians are there killing Ukrainian civilians, but that is not true. The objective from up on high, from Putin on down, the objectives are only kill the Ukrainian military unless they want to surrender, denazify Ukraine. So yes, if a Ukrainian guy surrenders with swastika tattoos, he may be executed on sight. That's that could be an exception to Ukrainian surrender, being treated nicely. And while they're at it, they're taking historical Russian lands on which the majority of ethnic Russians currently still live. Okay? Now, obviously, in war, civilians get killed, civilians get raped, civilians get massacred, because the soldiers that are there on the ground can't always be controlled. But the objectives from the leaders of Russia that are not on the ground shooting at Ukraine, but that are directing those on the ground, the objectives are, don't do the bad stuff to civilians, okay? Now, the Zionist mission in Gaza is nothing like the Russian mission in Ukraine, okay? The Zionist mission in Gaza pretends like they're trying to eliminate Hamas. That is outright bullshit. the real objective, the real Zionist objective in Gaza is to eliminate the Palestinians from the land. And John Mearsheimer explained it a lot better than I have been trying to explain it for the last 6 months. Okay, he does a better job than me. So listen to him explain it. But it's the same thing I've been trying to explain for, well, close to 6 months now. Okay. Now, where was I? Here, I think. Where was that comment? Where was the page I was just on? This is the page. Once I go off the page, it's gone. Okay, so you can go back, take a screenshot. Here we go. So I'm just going to read what I wrote. I'm sure there's grammar errors. The Zionist mission in Gaza is completely the opposite of the Russian mission in Ukraine. The real mission is to kill and or drive away every Palestinian off their own land. Remember, this was Palestinian land pre-World War II. The real mission is to drive all the Palestinians out, especially the Gazans, because the Gazans have the prime real estate of being on the Mediterranean with gas deposits versus the West Bank. The West Bank is also easier to, clean up than Gaza was because of the concentration of people and the flow of weapons from Egypt and all this other stuff. Okay, so the real mission is to kill and or drive away every Palestinian off their own land for the creation of greater Israel with zero Arabs on the land of greater Israel. Now, for those that don't understand what I mean by greater Israel, let's go to the map. Actually, we're going to go to, I don't want to pull up another website. So we're just going to go here. Okay. Now, this dotted area is the West Bank. That is also considered Palestine. This dotted area is Gaza. Now, Greater Israel is the border of Israel that includes the West Bank and Gaza. That's Greater Israel. Now, the mission is for Greater Israel not to have any Arabs in it. Okay? That's the mission. That's the Zionist mission of the Israelis, is to have Greater Israel with no Arabs. Now, how do you do that? Okay, this is why Israel is not interested in a two-state solution, because then they can't drive the Palestinians off the land. So the only two options are make their life miserable so they leave, or you got to wipe them out. It's hard for them to leave because Egypt has a wall here and they're not letting them in. So where do they go? I have no idea. And nobody does, which is why they're basically being exterminated. Now, again, if you don't want to hear this, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Unsubscribe. You can go. The Israeli leaders could not give two shits about Hamas or the Israeli hostages. Okay? Israel created Hamas. Israel has been funding Hamas. Israel wants Hamas there because opposition to Hamas wants a two-state solution. If there is another government in Gaza, they would want a two-state solution. Hamas is anti-two-state solution. Hamas wants to fight Israel. So Israel wants Hamas in power so that they don't have to negotiate a two-state solution. And Israel feels like they have the military advantage to eliminate Hamas, which they can't, But if they eliminate every Palestinian in Gaza or make their life a living hell, which they are, it would drive all the Palestinians out of Gaza by magic. Like by magic, they're gone. They'll all start swimming across the Mediterranean. Like there is no plan here, right? There is no plan other than maybe if we give them zero humanitarian aid, they will all starve to death. That's basically the current plan out there, okay? They don't care about the hostages. The hostages are a problem for them. I mean, if there were no hostages, it would be easier for them to just go and wipe everybody out. There's zero reason to eliminate Hamas. Because remember, if Hamas is eliminated, then Netanyahu could be in prison. I mean, like they have zero interest in ending this situation. They created an armed Hamas. This was, a few decades ago, but that's kind of how Hamas started. Now, if Israel actually eliminates Hamas, they will no longer have an excuse to carry out the mission. Remember what the mission is. The mission is the border of Israel with zero Arabs. They can't carry out that mission if Hamas is eliminated. There is zero reason for the Zionists to eliminate Hamas. They need them. They need Hamas to exist, and they need Hamas shooting back. Okay? So I don't blame Israel for invading Gaza. That's not true, right? Like Israel had to retaliate for what Hamas did on October 7th. Israel had to do something, okay? This is not what I would do. Also, I would have, if I ran Israel, which I would never want to, I wouldn't have put Israel in that situation in the first place by building an open-air concentration camp, creating an environment for them to want to break out and take hostages. But anyway, I don't blame Israel for going into Gaza and retaliating for what was done. I blame Israel for, I don't blame them for invading. I blame them for how they're carrying out the mission. And I blame them for the mission's objectives in Gaza. Okay? If you are not able to carry out a mission by proper rules of war, like what Russia is doing in Ukraine, then your military is not competent enough to carry out a military mission. The Israeli military is not competent to do what they're trying to do. They're saying they want to eliminate Hamas, but they're not eliminating Hamas. All they're doing is wiping out the civilian Palestinians. So either their military is grossly incompetent and they should not be carrying out that mission, or it's all a big, smoke and mirrors, and they are carrying out the exact mission they're set out to carry out, but pretending like they're there to eliminate Hamas. Right? And if Israel had guarded their open-air concentration camp better, October 7th would not have happened. Okay? So I'm not going to say that they purposely created a false flag and allowed for Hamas to do what they did on October 7th. I'm not saying they did that. They may have. I have no idea. I don't think they did. Just like I don't think the Israelis, had a hand in the helicopter crash. I don't believe that they did. I don't believe they purposely allowed October 7th to happen. But once it happened, they took full advantage of carrying out their mission. No different than 9/11. I don't believe that the United States government did 9/11. I don't believe it was a full, American-created inside job. I don't believe that. But the moment it happened, there are questionable things that took place that day. But the moment it happened, they took full advantage of it. Taking away our rights, invading the Middle East, I will say that the United States government probably had a bigger hand in 9/11 than Israel did in what happened on October 7th. So everyone keeps asking me about the helicopter. At the moment, my uninformed opinion is that it was a tragic accident, which is kind of crazy because presidential air vehicles should not be crashing. I'm still on the side of, it was an accident like Kobe Bryant's helicopter accident. Helicopters are dangerous as fuck, okay? I've been on a few helicopters, but I'm not as important as the president of Iran, or Kobe Bryant, for that matter, right? So if I was more important, I'd probably stay away from helicopters. Now, where are we here? Let me pause this. All right. None of my moderators are able to post questions. So I'm going to go back up myself. I'm going to go through your questions. I don't want to talk about AI today. Let's stick to this crazy Gaza versus Israel situation. I believe that the euro will crash against the US dollar. I'm going back to your questions, guys. Tone, serious question. Pretend you were the president of a country in between the West and East, like Republic of Moldova. How would you run the country? What would you choose how to balance? I would run the country the way Orban runs Hungary. I would run the country the way, what's the president of Slovakia? Vučić tried to run Slovakia, Serbia. I would run it that way. Look, and I know it's difficult. Erdogan is a little extreme on both sides. So I think the best leader in all of Europe is Viktor Orban. I don't know how long Viktor Orban will be alive, but he's the best leader in Europe. His days are probably very numbered, okay? We'll see what happens with Slovakia going forward. Now, if I was Moldova, also what Georgia is trying to do. So the first thing I would do is what Georgia is trying to do. I would eliminate all American NGOs I would make them illegal. So Georgia is trying to adopt the same policy as United States has. The United States does not allow foreign non-government organizations, except Israel, of course. That doesn't count. Israel is like the 51st state. So Georgia is trying to eliminate like George Soros Foundation, basically. Open Society or whatever the hell it's called. And they're having a problem eliminating the American influence in their elections. So the best thing Moldova can do, and the closer you are to Russia, the more you should be as neutral as possible. Belarus is not very neutral. Belarus is way more pro-Russia than they are neutral. Hungary is slightly more pro-EU than they are neutral. Serbia is the most neutral country in Europe, which is why Serbia is on the biggest shit list in Europe. Okay, Serbia is neutral, and it's a nightmare over in Serbia. They have the Kosovo uprising created by the US. NATO was dropping bombs and destroying Yugoslavia, creating a bigger mess out of it all. So the Europe and America hate Serbia because Serbia is neutral. You can't be neutral. Ukraine was neutral, and look what happened to Ukraine. Until the United States collapses and breaks up into multiple countries, a country cannot be neutral in Europe. Either you are with Russia or you're with the US. The United States will not let you be neutral. Okay? Turkey is as neutral as it gets because Turkey is a very big, powerful country, and Turkey has a lot of problems as well by trying to be neutral. The United States doesn't see the concept of neutral. You are either an enemy subject to regime change, or you are a lapdog that does whatever we tell you to do. Those are the only two options for a country in Europe, especially in Europe, based on the United States foreign policy. And it's very, very unfortunate. Okay. Next question. Right. The first thing I would do is I would eliminate Western NGOs or Western GOs. They're all government backed. There's no such thing as an NGO. There are no non-government organizations in a Western non-government organizations in a foreign country that don't exist. They are foreign agents in those organizations. That's what they are. They are regime change organizations. That's the first thing I would do, and that's a good start for Moldova. Someone is saying purified water isn't healthy, leaches minerals from the body. That's why I don't drink a lot of water. I use purified water in my tea. I use purified water in my bone broth. I don't like sit here and drink purified water all day. All right. I've been meaning to buy like proper like electrolyte powder to put in the water. I have a good one. There's a doctor I follow on YouTube, Dr. Stan Ekberg. He's very good. I've been meaning to buy his, but yeah, I don't drink purified water. I drink things with some minerals in them, like tea. All right, let's see what else we got. Michael Saylor explains it way cheaper than unconfiscatable. Sure. You're a good trader, shit businessman. Sure. I'm not gonna argue with that. And my geopolitics sucks, and yet you're here. So, hey, extra viewer for me. All right, still looking at your live chat. What do you think he meant when Larry Fink talked about Bitcoin ETF being just the beginning and that the second part will be tokenizing everything? They want ETFs of every shitcoin known to man because that's how they make the money. How does World War III affect crypto? Probably negatively at first, positively later. All right, let's see what else we got here. Oh yeah, Nord Stream was definitely blown up by the US. I don't see how that's even debatable at this point. YouTube does unsubscribe if you don't watch me for a while. They unsubscribe from, my followers, yes. I'm not, I mean, wheat's going to be affected, of course, with the Russia-Ukraine situation, but the world seems to have plenty of food. Ukraine was shelling Donbass and Luhansk, 14,000 killed. Putin couldn't get them to knock it off. That is true. I mean, I don't know on the 14,000 number. That seems to be the consensus. No one really knows. But yes, native Ukrainians were killing native Russians in East Ukraine. Putin probably should have went into Ukraine years earlier to save some Russians. Probably should have happened earlier. You know, a lot of people in Russia are unhappy Putin waited this long to do what he's doing in Ukraine. All right. Okay. All right, still checking your live chat. Really disappointing tone, really. I thought you're a smart person. Why the Gaza didn't broke to Egypt? Why they don't go to Sinai Desert? Nobody lives there. They can have their own country. No, they can't. There's two problems with your statement. First of all, why do the Palestinians need to go to Mount Sinai? They want to stay on their land in their homes, right? So it's kind of like Lyron Safado, you're the one that posted the message. So let's say me and my followers come to your house and your lawn, and we keep throwing bricks at your house and say, and I don't know where you live, right? Let's say you live in a nice part of Detroit, if there are a few nice parts of Detroit. And we're like, hey, we're going to keep throwing rocks at your house. Dude, there is a really good, underpass over there under the bridge. Why don't you go get your tent? And why don't you go live under the underpass? Because me and my friends want your house. Okay? You don't get to decide where the Palestinians should live. Okay? They want to live where they are. So it's a silly expectation for them to. And by the way, the wall between Gaza and Egypt is a way stronger wall, way better policed than the walls inside Israel, because technically Gaza is inside Israel, right? The border between Gaza and Egypt is guarded to the point where they can't cross that wall. Okay, have you seen pictures of that wall? They ain't getting through, okay? Because it's not Egypt's responsibility to take in the Palestinians just because they're also Muslim. That's not how it works, okay? That's not how it works. It's like America deciding that American black people now have to go to Africa because they're black. That's not how life works, okay? Their home is America. They were born in America, okay? Same thing with Gaza, Israel, right? It's not Egypt's responsibility to take in Palestinians just because they're Muslim. Someone writes the Palestinians just need to stop finding so much enjoyment in losing wars repeatedly. That's a really stupid statement. That's a really stupid statement. How do you define losing? How do you define losing, right? Because the Palestinians have just turned the majority of the world against Israel, okay? Yes, 30,000 Palestinians died already, probably more, will die of starvation. They have 2 million people in Gaza. My guess is close to 500,000 will die before this is over. And like in the long scale, in the long term, you know, they may have turned the entire world against the Israelis and unfortunately, the Jewish people. So in the long scale holy war, is it really a loss? Depends who you ask, right? Oh, we can talk about China, Taiwan on another stream. We can do a deep dive on China, Taiwan next time. I mean, the concept of Israel mowing the lawn means every now and then they go and, you know, kill a bunch of Palestinians in Gaza, just to, you know, for them to understand what Israel's mission is, basically. Thoughts on Building 7? Clearly a controlled demolition. I mean, the good don't always win. I'm not going to say the good always win. That's not true at all. The good president seems to be always assassinated. It's the bad ones that hang around, right? Fauci's still alive. Klaus Schwab's still alive. Bill Gates, he's younger, so he'll be alive for a while. George Soros still alive. God, I can name evil people all day. The good don't always win. The good rarely win. Freedom tends to win out over time, but we're losing that as well in this modern digital age. I don't have the I don't profit. Like Lyron, you need some therapy, dude. Tone, you're a populist. You have no clue what you're talking about. He just needs your viewers for his own profit. How do I profit? How do I make money? Explain how I make money. I would love to know how I make money because I don't. Talking about this only loses me subscribers and gets me more banned. All right, I think now Zazo, thanks for throwing the questions into our chat. I'm gonna go with Zazo's questions from now on. Do I think Ethereum will get approved? I really couldn't care less. I have no idea. I don't know what the SEC is thinking. The SEC is such an incompetent organization. I have absolutely no idea. None whatsoever. Nor do I really care. Alex writes, do you think another bespoke Iron Curtain will cut off Europe and America from the powers in Asia? Where does India ally? I don't think there will be another curtain. India is going to align with Russia and China. Remember, every single year, America is weakening and the BRICS are strengthening. India will align with Russia and China. Tokamel writes, Tone, really appreciate this geopolitics talk of yours. Do you think Iranian Prime Minister helicopter tragedy had something to do with Mossad bridging? I don't. I really don't. I think this was an accident, but I honestly don't know. Thoughts on the news that Biden's DOJ authorized the use of deadly force on Mar-a-Lago while ordering agents not to wear law enforcement attire for Trump's document raid. I thought that was now general knowledge as well. Lots of things went wrong on a Mar-a-Lago raid. I mean, if they shot Trump, that would have been bad. But yeah, they were certainly authorized to use deadly force. Absolutely. Guys, I don't believe Trump will be the next president of the United States. He will be dead or in prison. I do not believe Trump will be the president. I don't think the US is making it to 2034. I don't know if Dubai is going to be the land of opportunity. Dubai has its own issues as well. The 30 tunnels found between Rafah and Egypt. Yes, there are tunnels between Rafah and Egypt because Muslim Brotherhood supplies weapons to Gaza, and I believe those weapons flow in there through Egypt. But that doesn't mean Egypt is going to accept Palestinian civilians on their land. Those are two very different things. If not Trump, then who? I still think Gavin Newsom is our next president. Have I checked the US fuel reserves? No, not really. I think it'll be Gavin Newsom, governor of California. Let's see. The 510 number. It could be Biden. Could be Biden again. Oh, if I have the 510 number. Yeah, so yeah, they're still buying petroleum reserve. By the way, these are the latest numbers for the ETFs. There was a very positive week. The US does not have the power to reinvent itself. Those days are long gone. you have to understand the US educational system has been completely infiltrated by Marxist ideology. 99% of, well, 99.9% of elementary school teachers are Marxist. 99% of junior high school teachers are Marxist. 98% of all high school teachers are Marxist. And 95% of all college professors are Marxist. There is no turning back for the United States. I'm sorry, guys, it is over. You cannot reverse the 20 to 40 year educational trend of Marxist tyrannical brainwashing that takes place in the educational system. It is not something that's reversible in a single generation. The US is done. It will not survive as a single country. The US will split. Now, there are parts of the US which are not as indoctrinated, but this also means the Department of Education needs to be completely removed. Education needs to go back to small communities. The United States will not reverse course under a federal educational system. It will not happen. It can't happen. My news and theory is as follows. Sometime in the next 3 months, Joe Biden will step down as the president of the United States for whatever reason you can choose. You know, health reasons, corruption reasons, whatever. His son, something happens to his son, whatever, okay? Joe Biden steps down, Kamala becomes president. Kamala needs a vice president. She will select Gavin Newsom. Now, the amount of time Kamala can be president needs to be limited because she is a fucking idiot, okay? So no one wants her in charge for more than 3 months. So if Kamala takes over in August, that gives her October and November, 2 months to rule the nation. Hopefully, she doesn't kill us all. And Gavin Newsom comes in as her vice president. She then decides not to run for election. And the current vice president of the US, which is Gavin Newsom, then becomes the only person on the Democratic ticket. And he will select some kind of a tyrannical neocon Republican as his vice president as a way to bridge the gap. So I believe Gavin Newsom will choose a Republican vice president to be, the new leader of America that's going to be bipartisan. And we need to save the divide between the right and the left. But the Republican he's going to choose would be, like the current Speaker of the House Republican, or I think a Lindsey Graham is a little too extreme. He's going to choose a Republican that is anti-Trump. He will select an anti-Trump Republican as his vice president, or maybe a populist like a Bernie Sanders as his vice president, knowing that Bernie is pushing 90 and he's going to resign soon after he becomes vice president. So it'll be a very interesting selection for a vice president that's going to get him some votes back. Bernie is also, anti-genocide in Gaza. So that could score some good points for Gavin Newsom. And they will convince the Israel lobby that Bernie Sanders' days as vice president are very numbered, and they're just using him to get the votes and get reelected to prevent the orange man from being elected. I don't know what they'll do. Plus, they can always cheat at the polls, right? So they have another avenue there. Civil war in the US. I don't think it'll be a civil war. I don't think the United States can fight a civil war. The United States military is pure dog shit. They will not survive their own civil war. And 90% of military-age boys are from the South. They're just going to go home and protect their families. And the woke military, the U.S. military, the generals in the U.S. military are more interested in figuring out how many dresses they need to wear on a monthly basis to get promoted than how to fight a real war. So I don't see a civil war in the U.S. I see a breakup of the U.S. I don't see, I see some, local violence. Yeah, Liz Cheney, perfect vice president for Gavin Newsom. Sure. Yeah, so hey, 14,000 Bitcoin got bought last week, and GBTC didn't sell any Bitcoin. So that's a huge positive sign for Bitcoin, to get back to that. So I don't really see a civil war at all. I see the military breaking up. I see all the Texas boys and Oklahoma boys and Kentucky and some from Florida. I see them going back to protect their families. And all of the military boys from the North, I don't know, will go get a sex change or something up in New York or California. I have no idea what they're going to do. And I really don't see a war. And I don't see Trump getting elected. Because trust me, no military person is going back to protect their family in the North. If they're going back to the North, they're gonna take their family and go south, where the majority of the military is gonna be. So unless you think the North is gonna nuke the South, which they're not, just like Israel is not gonna nuke Gaza because it's within the same country, and the fallout, the nuclear fallout is gonna be crazy. That's not going to happen. No, I didn't watch them. I didn't watch the Civil War movie. I think it's silly. California is not going to join forces with Texas to go into the White House. There's not going to be another protest at the White House. I was at the last one. That didn't go very well. That's not going to happen again. The next protests are going to be at the state level. There's not going to be a federal protest. I'm going to stop the screen share right now. You're not going to see what you see behind me unless, Baltimore rises up against DC for other reasons. You're not going to see that. The next protest is going to be at the state level. The next protest will take place, let's say, at the Texas state legislature for secession. It's not going to be at the federal level. I think we who went to protest peacefully at the federal level on January 6th learned our lesson that the next protest needs to be at the state level for secession. The Texas is armed to the teeth. The U.S. federal government will not be able to send the National Guard because the majority of the National Guard is in Texas. And they will not follow federal orders if Texas decides to secede. Texas will not be on their own. Texas will be joined by Oklahoma and probably New Mexico and definitely Arizona after they, kick out their corrupt and illegitimate governor, and they will join with Mississippi and Georgia and Florida and Tennessee and South Carolina after they kick out Lindsey Graham. And there will be nothing the U.S. federal government will be able to do about it? Absolutely nothing. Well, it doesn't matter that a state has nukes. You can have nukes, but if you don't have the codes, well, they're useless, right? Like your nuclear arsenal is useless without the codes. The Ukrainian nuclear arsenal was mostly useless after Russia broke up. They didn't have the codes. All right, guys, I think I've said enough. Yeah, Mitt Romney, yeah, sure. Again, it'll be a anti-Trump Republican as the vice president for Gavin Newsom. All right. Yeah, I got nothing to say on Israel-Gaza at this point. I think I've said enough. Next week, I'll probably cover China-Taiwan. We can get into that topic next week. You know, I'll do each topic once a week for a month. And what's another geopolitical topic after? I mean, I guess we can talk about the US problems after we talk about China, Taiwan. I already talked about the tunnels between Egypt and Gaza. Rewind about 15 minutes. Which country will be in control of the world reserve currency? None. None. I mean, it's probably gonna, the best candidate is China. But other than that, let's hope it's Bitcoin. All right, guys, thank you all for watching. I'm gonna get going, and I will see you all on the next one. Assuming I still have a channel after this stream. We'll find out together. All right. Bye, guys.